Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to the Happy Meter podcast. Yet again, a chance for me, Kevin Ford, and my co-host, Justin Garrett, to come together and talk about the Happy Meter, that wonderful intersection of our lives' passions and financial wellness and healthiness. Justin, how you doing, man?
Hey, Kevin, how we doing today?
We got a beautiful day here in Baltimore. It's a little windy, but it's getting a little warmer. Spring is in the air, and I thank God more and more every day that we have a rooftop deck here that I can enjoy.
Well, the past 2 days has been in New York here. It's been between 60 and 75. It's been the best weather we've seen all year. And so the past 2 days I've been outside lots. We actually did kind of like a mini triathlon. We did kayaking for a few hours. One day we went bike riding twice. We did some running. So it was a whole variety of different sports, but we prioritized being outside. And then every day about 3 o'clock, we'd had a fire out in the backyard and just lounged out and did some reading. And it was beautiful and sunny out. So I'm super happy about the weekend, and I'm really glad it fell on Saturday and Sunday and not the weekdays when I've been super busy with students and clients and stuck inside. So what a beautiful blessing of a weekend.
Absolutely. In fact, over the weekend, I went for a walk. At some point, I was just kind of cooped up, and so I got out, and I'm avoiding the parks. I'm just walking around different neighborhoods, and I got a wonderful FaceTime from you, and your dad was involved in the whole 9 yards. It's wonderful. Do you want to share about this amazing opportunity you seized?
Well, I think I sent you a picture first, and then we FaceTimed you right after. And I think we FaceTimed you with the trunk open up at the grocery store, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So episode 6, what we just had on our podcast, Kevin, we talked a lot about, you shared a very embarrassing story about me asking you to bring down a full ham to Puerto Rico on one of our vacations so that we could cook it and save on going out a few meals. And sure enough, 3 days ago, my dad was looking through the store brochures or the coupons at our local supermarket called ShopRite, and they had a massive sale, and I think it was like 39 cents per pound of ham, which is like 75% off the normal rate. And so we ended up going there, and my dad and I filled the back of the trunk. And don't worry, we gave a few to my brother and my grandfather. I'm going to bring a few down in Baltimore, but hams were like $3 or $4. And we just spoke about this last week. So the only thing I can think about what happened was maybe Easter, a lot of people didn't celebrate as usual. And so the stores were backed up with lots and lots of hams, just hams everywhere.
Yeah, for any of our listeners, it was truly, a 4-door normal car trunk load full of hams, holiday hams, very worthwhile, scrumptious looking hams. And my favorite thing, Justin gleeful, just join his voice, and his dad's there too. He tells me not only the price point, about 39 cents, like whatever you said a pound, but you told me that they capped it at 4 hams per person, which I think is just wonderful. It's such a, the idea that so many people are tempted to buy 5, 6, even 10 hams, but they paced you. They had to slow you down. So,
well, we're having ham all week. My mom made ham soup. We're having ham something tonight, or ham pizza, or probably ham the rest of the week.
Making it rain ham, and I can't wait when you're back in Baltimore. We're gonna have some too.
We put a few in the freezer with Kevin's name on them, so we'll be greeting you soon with those.
And so another thing I see, I saw you would share this with me also by text and whatnot, but I see you have a new decorative wood burning right over your shoulder there.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you describe that for us?
So my brother, who is a very talented young fella, he has been getting into wood burning lately. And so he's been making all these beautiful pieces of art for the family. He's got a huge, like 200-pound dinosaur Great Dane at the house, and he made one for the dog, which is really cute. But he made one for me with the business logo on it, and came out super good. Figured this is going to be the backdrop for the office here.
That's awesome. It looks really detailed and ornate. I don't even know how he did the dollar bill there.
I don't know either. Really, really talented. But, my brother's talented in so many ways. And one thing, I actually asked him if I could share a quick little story about him. My brother growing up, I was always the saver, and my brother was always the spender. Every dollar that I would make, 75% of it would go towards saving for expenses in college or a larger purchase later on. Like, I had that ingrained since forever. My brother was not the same way. My brother liked to spend money on all the things. My brother liked to spend the money that he earned. And so that just was never ingrained to him, the power of saving. And even all the way through college, he was not interested in saving. And it really was probably until about his 4th or 5th year of working full time where he started to just save a little bit. And what I saw, which was a really cool, remarkable renaissance that he did, is that he just started saving $100 or $200 into his deferred compensation plan, which is a retirement plan. And then he saved just a little bit outside of that. And it took a while for him to be really into that. But as his numbers started to build, I saw his whole demeanor towards saving change drastically. And I remember looking at his deferred comp, and he was just putting like 3 or 4% in. And all of a sudden, a few years later, I saw him move up to 5, move up to 7, move up to 10% into pre-tax buckets. And now he's contributing 40, 50% of his salary into savings and investing. And he's become just an incredible saver and investor over the last 10 years. But he didn't start that way. It took a long time for him to get there. And now he's on pace to retire before 45 because he saves so much money. He's cut his expenses significantly low. And what's also amazing about him, he knows exactly what makes him happy and tick without even doing the happy meter activity. The man knows exactly what he likes and what he wants and what he wants to spend money on. And he only spends it on those things. The rest goes into pre-tax investments. He trusts that it's gonna the investments are gonna grow over time. And it's going to be pretty remarkable when he sees his accounts at 42 and 45 and him have the option, not that he will, but the option to be able to stop working forever because of the amount he saves. It's remarkable. And that story I just think is just starting a little bit at a time, watching that money build and build. And then you start to get pretty addicted to it. And that's when those savings habits really start to compound.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot about things like how budgeting can lead to that, and certainly checking in on your numbers whenever you have any objective goal, to be able to be mindful and seeing it, and to know that your efforts are having an impact is a huge deal. But you also mentioned something that you and I have been talking about more and more lately, which is we have, I think, a popular concept of just retirement,
right?
Almost a rite of passage to be achieved at some point down the line. But you always try to strike that even beyond retirement, there's this other issue of financial independence. So I don't want to steal your thunder. Do you want to elaborate on how you see those as being pretty distinct concepts?
Yeah, to me, retirement is not working. Like, you're at the opportunity in life where you don't need to work because you have money, enough income that's coming in other ways, or you have enough savings where you do not have to work and you don't work. So retirement, not going to work. I'm good. I'm set. This is what you picture as far as 60 years old and you're sitting on a beach with a martini out in, down in Florida, and you have no care in the world. Like, that to me is what most people vision as retirement. What I'm talking about is financial independence is a different term from retirement. It almost is the same, where you have enough money where you can sustain your lifestyle without having to work, but the choice is there that you may or may not work. And to me, I know my goal, and what I work with clients on is like, it's not necessarily retirement. It's about reaching an amount of money so that you have the choice that you can work, you can choose this job, you can choose to volunteer here, but you have the choice. And financial independence is that key. I don't like to use the word retirement because there are many folks who are financially independent that continue to work, continue to serve. So I really like that term, financial independent. Like, my goal is to be financially independent by between 38 and 40. That doesn't mean I'm going to go sit in a rocking chair and not work. Like,
I don't
that's
think
not
you'd
going to
ever be capable of that for more than 2 days.
No, right. Can't sit still for a while. But it's going to be an amazing thing where I am able to choose my entire path in life, as far as its choice is not based on money. It's based on what brings me joy and what brings my family joy. And I think that's a really powerful thing a difference between that and retirement.
Yeah. And for our listeners who are probably surprised to hear that age by which you plan to achieve financial independence, that's a remarkable trait of Justin's, that he has the ability, both as a saver, as a financial planner, and as just a worker in the world, that he's going to be able to get there. I know that for me, that's not the path. Unless Mega Millions becomes very achievable for me or something like that, I'm not going to be financially independent at 38. I plan to take a slower approach, but do hope at a reasonable time, whether it's mid-50s, 60s, to be financially independent, such that, just as you said, Justin, I have the option that I can keep teaching. I can shift into a more volunteer position. I can travel more. I can do whatever it is that I'm hoping to do while maintaining the lifestyle to which I've become accustomed. And generally be independent.
Right. I think it's literally just based on, choices. There's nothing wrong with any path that you take here. Like, I'm taking a very extreme path where my savings rate is insane. Like, I save 70% of my salary. No, very few people are interested in making that type of sacrifice right now in order to be able to reach that. And that's perfectly okay too. Everybody, it's simple math. Like the more you put away, the quicker and less you'll be able to either work or hit financial independence. And everybody's role and road to get there looks very different.
Yeah, we've talked in the past, and so I have just enough of this bubbling around that some of the, I guess, mechanisms or tools that people use on their path to retirement and financial independence. There's like Social Security, which is American benefit, going to be coming when you vest in it or whatever the language is.
Yep.
Some jobs, as we've discussed, have at different times like pension,
yep.
various retirement accounts. What else is on your mind?
Yeah. So number one, like you said, Social Security. We have if you've been working and you've been receiving a paycheck as young as even 14, you've been contributing towards Social Security, which is a fund that the United States has where it pays out money between 62 and 70, and it's kind of a safe cushion of retirement for the majority of the American public. Lots of nuance to that, but it's a little bit of money you'll get between starting at 62 to 70 for the rest of your life after that. And it's kind of a backup retirement that most people use. If you don't save anything, that's what you'll get. Okay.
Gotcha.
Number two, if you are in a state job, many of them offer pensions. And a pension is very similar to Social Security, where you're setting and contributing a set amount of money over the course of your career. There's rules based on your job. For me in Baltimore City, I contribute 7% of my salary. I have no choice on that. It goes to this pot of money. And then later on in life, depending on the age when you set to retire, they're going to pay me out a certain percent of my salary for the rest of my life from there. So that's two choices for retirement planning. Those two are, if you work in a school system like me, who's a public school teacher, or most of my family who work in the state systems, those two things are not choices. The second two things really have to do with choices. The third is the supplemental retirement plan. This is a 401k, this is a IRA, this is a Roth IRA, this is a 403b. Those are all additional supplemental retirement plans you can contribute to. And the last, some folks out there love to invest in real estate. They like to buy some homes. They like to have people live in them and then pay them rent. And those are all different ways to see your amounts and investments grow over time.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and I'm thinking a little bit about the supplemental retirement. That's obviously what I have through my school. And for some of our listeners that might be newer to this, there's an element that might feel compulsory because the school is putting it in there, they're going to be contributing to it. But to realize that it's supplemental and in some ways optional because we get to then maybe be matched by our workplace or something else along those lines. Yeah. And yeah, real estate, that for me is like the dream. I think for a lot of millennials out there, that's where we're hoping to get to one day.
Sure.
How do you see these things intersecting on various paths for people?
Yeah, I mean, to me, there's really three different types of paths that I see majority of people taking. One is there are some folks out there who do not want to retire early, don't care about saving, and they plan on just kind of making it happen later on. They're going to have a Social Security coming in. They're hoping that they might have some real estate going on there. These are people that I think are a little less planners. And what I have found most of the time is those folks are later on in life really just relying on Social Security. So these are people that kind of lived paycheck to paycheck, maybe didn't save a lot throughout their entire career. And the bottom line is later on, unless you're getting an influx of money from a family member or unless you have real estate, you have to live on just Social Security, which is possible, but it's a pretty low amount to live on.
It's
and
tough.
Yeah. And so that's certainly one choice. If you want to not save over the course of your career, that's okay. Okay. Just know that later on, no one's going to hand you checks there later on in life besides your Social Security if you didn't put it anywhere else. And so just know your lifestyle is going to have to be living on a very low amount. You're not going to be vacationing much. You're not going to be doing big gifts to family members. You're not going to leave a lot of money to your family. Again, nothing wrong with that. Just know that that's a choice that you made.
Yeah, I think if it weren't for the fact that I have a school that was already setting up a supplemental retirement thing,
Yep.
If it weren't for having a father who was aware enough to push me to contribute more than was the minimum, and if it weren't for my friendship with you, I think there's a chance there is a permutation. There's like a version of myself that's a path oneer, and I'm so glad I am no longer, or at least avoided as best I could, in part because that path usually strikes me as not being an intentional choice. It's like a passive choice.
Sure.
And so much of being able to be financially healthy and to live a more thriving life is just being mindful. So being mindful, if you're not saving, what does that mean down the road? And so that's why I'm very grateful to be walking on a different path. So
Yeah.
what else is that, Justin?
Yeah, the second one is it's a wide range, and that is people who do contribute something towards their retirement, maybe not as super as aggressive as what I shared that I do, but typically this is in the average American, I'd say, contribute somewhere between 10 and 20% of their income into their retirement. And this could come in many forms. So for you, Kev, who does not have a pension through work, the percent that you need to contribute since you don't have a pension is going to have to be a little bit higher than some of my folks who are public school teachers or public workers, because they have a amount that they're automatically contributing towards a pension, like anywhere between 3 and 7% typically. So there's 7%. If some folks throw another 7 or 10% on top of that into a 403B or something like that into that plan there. And then that pot of money is what they have to be able to live off of later in life. And that combination is going to look different from everybody. If you're someone who works in corporate America who has no pension and you have a 401k, you're going to contribute to your 401k. If you are someone who works in private schools who doesn't have access to a pension, you're going to need to make sure you're really diligent. Since you're not going to have the pension, you only have Social Security, you really need to be diligent and start contributing to your 403B. If you are somebody who is again, state worker who has a pension, you might want to add on to that supplemental retirement plan to be able to add on to your pension to make that amount grow. So everybody's combination is going to be different. And the more aggressive you are and the more money that you're putting into this, know that your future is probably going to look a little bit different. If you're putting more money in, your path to financial independence is going to be shorter. You're putting less money in, your pathway to financial independence is going to be longer. So it's about, if your income goes up, your expenses go down, and you could put more of that money into those buckets, just know your pathway is shorter. And there's no right or wrong answer here at all. And so what's your thoughts on that, Kev?
My thought is that I would imagine that for a majority of our listeners, we're there, right? Path to having to figure out and be mindful about what are our avenues, the financial tools, like you said, pension versus 403B versus IRA and that sort of thing. And as you get more and more steeped in that process, you find that you're able to reach out to more and more of those tools. And I think that if you combine path 1 and 2, it's a clear majority of not just listeners, but probably Americans in general are either not being mindful or being mindful in this sort of normal way that's going to progress to the 50s and 60s age point. But I know that you're operating in a slightly different place, and this is more of a burgeoning savings philosophy.
Yeah.
What do you got for us?
So I'm on the extreme level, and there are a few clients I work with that are also came to me because they know that this is what I like helping people with as well, is be able to create a plan. Like, how can I reach financial independence at an extreme early level? There's actually a movement out there called the FIRE movement, and it stands for Financial Independence Retire Early Movement. And so there's a large chunk of people out there that are attempting this. And the bottom line is that you save massive amount of your income. You cut your expenses extremely low. You take a huge chunk of your income and you move it to those retirement buckets. And I'm not talking about at a 10, 15, 20% rate. I'm talking about at a 60, 70, 75% of your income rate. And again, I'm not saying this is for everybody out there at all, but there are some people out there who are starting at 22 to 30 right now who can easily start lowering their expenses at an extreme level and taking that big bucket of money and putting to these funds and watching them grow over the next 10 years. And again, if somebody who is looking for a 30-year span is putting $5,000 away in, but I'm only going to work for, let's say, 10 years, and I put triple, quadruple times 5 that amount into these accounts, the math makes sense where I can retire at a pace that's 1/3 everybody else. And so that's my strategy here. I max out a 403B, which allows me to put $19,500 in. I'm also, as a school teacher, we can contribute to what's called a 457. So I put $19,500 in there. And I also max out a Roth IRA, allows me to put $6,000 in there. And I do that every year. And if you add those sums up, I'm not living on much, but those sums are going to grow and grow and grow. And I'll be clear, like I live a pretty frugal existence. I am really.
He does.
Yep. But I don't think I sacrifice things that make me happy. And so that's, again, really important, like what we've talked about with the happy meter. But those are large sums of money. That's probably times 5, maybe more of what the average person is putting away. And it's just a different way to look at life. Like I want at again, 38 or maybe even before, to be able to have a amount of money where I don't have to work another day. That doesn't mean I'm not gonna. Like, I love what I do. I love being a financial advisor. I really love teaching. But it'll be pretty cool when I can make decisions based on me and other people versus my job.
Yeah. It's such an impressive thing to hear. And I know that for me, it's something that is probably not going to be a part of my financial path, because it's a balance not only of having the least or the lowest expense you can in terms of your operating life and all that sort of thing, but also has to do with revenue streams. And so I know that for me as a private school teacher, my salary is not going to be in a place to allow me to do quite what you're describing there. But that's why you always say it's different for every person. Yes. And it's about figuring out where you are, what you have accessible, and then following your personal philosophy. Do you have any resources for people, though, that might be interested in pursuing this kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, so I think one of my favorite podcasts that truthfully turned me on to this, my whole family are about, everyone has pensions, everyone works for state work, and the belief is, let's do your time. But you're 25 or 30 years in, you're going to get a pension later on, you're going to live your life after 55 on, you're not going to have to work. So that's what I was always brought up on. And it was interesting is this one podcast called Choose Financial Independence, really kind of gave me permission to know that there are other folks doing it differently out there. And my skill set actually aligns a lot with the people that were featured on that podcast. And it's called Choose FI. And the best episode on there, and it's called The $1 Million Educator, or The Millionaire Educator, is episode 13. And it breaks this stuff down as far as buckets and what to do. We're going to talk a little bit about that next week on our episode, Kev. But it's a great resource for folks.
Absolutely. Do you have any final thoughts on the main thrust of the content here, Justin?
Yeah, I always get the question as far as, how do I know how much to actually save for retirement? Like, how much do I need as a lump sum? And so there's been a ton of research out there in the financial industry field on this. And there's something called the 4% rule. And it's just a lot of computation and studies out there that people have done. Is like, what do I need as a lump sum to retire? And so I'm going to do a few examples for us, Kev, just a few math examples so that we can kind of see the way the math works, okay? So this is what we start with. The first thing we do is we take an estimated amount that we want to live on per year, okay? So let's just say that's $50,000, okay? If you don't have any other streams of income coming into you at retirement, that would be no pension coming in, no real estate coming in. I don't count Social Security. To me, that's like a backup. So if I have nothing else, I'm going to take that 50,000 and I'm going to multiply that by 25. So if you multiply that by 25, you're left there with, what is that? 1,025,000 times 5, 125.
$1,250,000.
$1,250,000. Thanks, Kev. I'm the math teacher here. $1,250,000. That's a really good conservative amount of money as a lump sum that you would need before you can say you're financially independent. So that's at $50,000 a year. That's how much you want a passive income coming in. That means that's what you could take out of your investment theoretically every year, and it would last the entire time that you're living. Okay,
Which
so that's
25 years.
Yes.
Beyond retirement.
Sorry, say that again. It's what?
Which we assumed was 25 years beyond retirement or cessation of working, right?
Right. So no, be clear with that. What that means is that times 25 is nothing to do with how many years you actually have planned. If I reach that milestone right now at 31 at $1,250,000, I theoretically would have enough money to take out $50,000 per year, and it will last my entire life. That's gotcha. Right now at my age. Okay. So let's just say we keep the $50,000 goal, but now I also own rental real estate. And let's just say I have $10,000 a year that's coming in rental real estate. So now instead of needing $50,000 a year, I only need $40,000 a year in passive income outside of my real estate. So if I take my $40,000 and I multiply that by my 25, I'm now at 1 million. So for me to be technically financially independent, if I want to live on $40,000, not have any pension, but I had a passive income of real estate coming in, it's $1 million. Okay, let's do another example. Let's say you're a police officer And most police officers, they get to retire only after 20 years of service. So let's say you started at 21, you're now 41, you're thinking about if it's time for you to retire or not. So let's say you want to live on $50,000. If my pension at that time, because you would qualify for a pension if you're a police officer or a firefighter after 20 years of service, it's very normal. All right, let's say my pension is kicking me $30,000 a year. So now I'm going to take 30,000 and subtract that. I'm left with 20,000. If I take the 20,000, I multiply by 25. Now I'm left with needing $500,000 in my 401k or 403b or investments in order to technically live out a withdrawal of that $20,000 a year. And so just to review that math again, take your desired income at retirement per year, subtract whatever amount of money you think you might have coming in outside of what you need from that big lump sum of money. So that's real estate, that's a pension, that's a side hustle or side business that you may have at retirement. Subtract that out. Then you're left with the amount of money that you need to pull out of your investments every single year for the rest of your life. If you multiply that by 25, it's a really good estimate statistically showing you how much you would need to be able to make that amount live out throughout your lifetime.
Gotcha. And so that's the advice that you give anyone that's asking, how much should I be saving? How much should I be putting away?
Yep. And again, it's not a perfect amount, but it's a really good estimate. There's been a lot of studies that have been done on that math formula. And even during, if you were to stop and retire at the worst period of time in history, like right before the Great Depression, right? When the market just tanked afterwards, the 4% rule still outlasted that. And so it's a really good study to know.
Okay. Very, very nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, Kev, putting that money in those side buckets and those supplemental retirement accounts, that's what allows you to have the freedom to be able to make those choices that we just talked about with the math.
I love it. I love it. And I'm looking forward to applying it in my own life.
Absolutely.
All right. So do you have any, to our last favorite thing to try to end on when we have our episodes, do you have any savings hacks for us?
I actually have one for you.
Okay.
So one thing that I've learned in this household, being here for the last 2 months, last month here since the coronavirus has been going on, is we do something when we buy pizza, I think that saves quite a bit of money over time. So if it's Friday night and we're feeling like we want to get takeout pizza, we have a deal in our hometown here where it's like $16 for 2 plain pies. So we just get the 2 plain pies, but everyone in my family really likes toppings. And so we make our own toppings at the house and put them on our pizza from here. And if you actually take away how much money you're typically putting on, if you're putting multiple toppings on your pizza, it's quite a substantial amount of money that you're paying in toppings. And to me, that doesn't add any value to that pizza. When I can do it here, I can throw on a pepperoni that I got for $2 for the whole big package, and I can cover the pizza with it, throw it in the oven for 2 or 3 minutes, and then now we have a pizza with a topping that was about half the price is what you'd pay.
This is an interesting hack. I think this is one where there are elements of it that I also keep. So, for example, I have certain spices that I love, and I like to literally spice up my pizza when I get it. So oregano, crushed red pepper, various cheeses that I might have available in the refrigerator at the time. I love banana peppers on my pizza as well, so I keep some banana peppers in the fridge.
I have seen you do all of these things before.
Yes,
I haven't seen you put meat on though afterwards.
So that's where I'm wondering. I think part of what I like about getting pizza, whether it's delivered or picked up, is that it's ready, right? I can eat it right away. I also find myself thinking about the freshest ingredients, like the pizza shop's probably gonna happen because they're gonna be burning through them, like fresh mushrooms as opposed to canned mushrooms.
Maybe. And
I would worry that unless I'm ordering a lot of pizza, then maybe I'm wasting the investment of fresh white mushrooms because I'm not gonna eat enough pizza in time and they'll go bad. But
could be different strokes for different folks.
To think on this, like there's something in there I'm definitely with, Justin, but then there's another that like sometimes I just want my pizza to be ready to enjoy.
I'm not saying we do this all the time. We just saw this the other day. It made lots of sense and it tasted good. It probably saved $8 to $10. But I'm with you. If you're looking for something where I just want to grab it and eat it, then absolutely.
Favorite topping? Go.
Sausage.
Sausage is a good one. I might say bacon, actually. I don't know if you've done bacon on a pizza.
So we've realized if we put all of those meat toppings on one, we actually start to not taste a lot of them. And so the other day we had on the side in the pan, we cooked pepperoni, sausage, and bacon all in the pan and then put it on the pizza. And we didn't taste like 2 out of the 3 of the ingredients, right? And so it ended up being a waste. So now we just went to sausage.
I respect that. Now, quick shout out to our beloved city of Baltimore. Have you done crab pizza yet?
I have not.
It's fantastic. So the local pizzerias that I most often frequent, we're talking Home Slice, which they're going to be known for more exotic toppings like walnuts and eggplant. But another shout out to Hudson Street Stackhouse. They've got a really good crab pizza.
So I think you should be a walking ad for them, Kev. You've mentioned them, I think, 2 or 3 times here. I think you do visit them once or twice a week.
Just to support local business.
Absolutely.
Yeah, keep them going. I love it, Justin. Do you have any other hacks for us or anything else?
I think that's it for today, Kev. I think I had a few other math equations I want to do with us, but I think the 4% rule was enough for everybody today. But I'm super excited about our next podcast, which is about just overall retirement bucket strategy. So what is a 401k? What is a 403b? What's the difference between all those? And I think that'll be really fun for us.
I can't wait, Justin. All right, everyone, thanks so much for listening, tuning in once again to the Happy Meter podcast. We're going to be in touch again soon. See you in a week.
All right. Thanks, Kev. Have a great day.
You too, Justin.